Get your stinking rat out. It's late night large.
Hello and welcome to the show that cuts through the sky like a thunderclap, bearing clouds engorged with fluids to cascade down upon all thine heads. Bringing the thunder is me, Aaron Bliss, and bringing the clap is Mike Large.
Oh, brilliant!
I thought you'd like that, Mike.
Brilliant. That was a good one. It's quite a good one. I like it. Accurate. Oh.
So
that was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Yeah, I'm well, my situation, as I explained to you just earlier, feeling sorry for myself. I have
Oh yeah.
I have unfortunately damaged ankle ligaments again playing five-a-side football. So Mike, thank you for your sympathy.
It's about as much sympathy as I get from you when I hurt myself.
Yeah. Well, as the mafia don with the disabled sister once said, ignorant people tend to have a lot more empathy with the disabled after I break both their legs. So I'm feeling a lot of empathy with people who are less able now. I've had to pinch a walking stick at work.
Have you?
I'm not using it too much, but it's more like, because I don't have crutches, it kind of reminds you not to put too much weight on one side. You know, had to cling to the banister every time I go down the stairs. You know, you have to treat the banister as if you're climbing down a vine. But no, it's okay. It's getting ever so slightly better day by day. Putting ice packs on it. I'm sure I'll be able to walk the way I used to in about 3 months. So, yeah. Anyway, Mike, there's been a lot of development this week in the UK COVID world.
In the COVID Cup.
In the COVID Cup. Since last week, we said that there were growing rumours about a second wave. It was looking very much.
I mean, yeah, never really in doubt.
No, I mean, we, as well as a lot of other people, we'd predicted ourselves back in the summer. So here we are. The second wave is almost certainly on the way, and I don't know if you've noticed, Mike, but there's been a lot of press conferences, appearances in the newspapers, the television, the radio, from government ministers, really playing this up now, saying, saying that this is serious. We have to act very soon. People have to be responsible. In fact, I think I even heard the ridiculous phrase of, effectively saying, people are going to have to start paying attention, or we're going to have to lock you down again. Effectively. So sorry, what were you saying?
I just, I mean, we talk about a second wave being imminent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it not already here? Have we not had a good few weeks now with figures that were at least as bad, if not worse, than they were leading into the first lockdown?
Yes.
It's here. It's happening already. I don't.
Yes, it is. Well, it's interesting you say that, because I think a lot of people suspect that. I mean, it's not suspecting; it's obvious that if you look at the way that they reacted initially to lockdown, we saw the signs, which was denial. Oh, this is serious. We better do something. Another week goes by. Do you think we should do something? Let's have some restrictions. Another week goes by. Oh, right, we need a full lockdown. Right, we're putting everyone in lockdown. And it nothing much seems to have changed. There's still this. Looks like infections are going up. Yeah, let's do a lockdown in that northern town that we don't give a shit about. That'll be fine. Oh wait, they're still going up. Maybe we should patronise the public and say that they've been eating out too much, and they're not being careful enough when they're half cut in pubs. ah, bollocks, so then we're going to have to do something else. And the weeks just drift by and by and by, and they're desperately trying not to do a second lockdown until there's no other option. I don't know. Do you think that's what's kind of happening at the moment?
I mean, yeah, it's difficult because I feel like, to me, it comes across like they're really conflicted with regards to what they want, which is why maybe ever since the very fucking beginning, it was very much a case of people were receiving mixed messages, or there wasn't a lot of clarity necessarily in everything that they were saying. Well, you know, and we spoke about it a lot before. You're addressing the nation, appeal to the lowest common denominator, be fucking exactly, like, specifically clear on exactly what you want. Didn't really happen, but I feel like now as well, there's just, I don't, it's like they don't want to have to initiate another lockdown. I agree with you, and they'll clutch at any straw they can fucking grasp to look for an excuse to avoid it, or at least prolong it until they feel like a time whereby the economy might be able to deal with it. I mean, I don't know if that time is going to come anytime soon, but I don't know enough about it to be certain. I'm no expert, but my guess would be we're miles away from that. But then everything they do or have done hasn't. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's been to increase like the rate of infection so that we have no choice but to do the thing that they don't want to do. But do you see what I mean? That kind of how it feels like, you know, go to eat out every fucking 3 days every single week, get out there and get out and about and help the economy and do all that stuff. Go to the pub, but not in any more than 2 households. But then they change it so that you can have up to 6 different households, and send kids back to school, like the super carrier kids and all that stuff. And I mean, that sounds a bit conflicted to me, right? Like the actions are done with, let's go out and support the economy because it needs to happen at some point, because otherwise we're fucked. And I get that to a degree, but then they turn around and they don't want the lockdown that's inevitable after the other actions that they take. Do you know what I'm saying? It just seems, does that not seem conflicted to you?
Yeah. No, I think I get where you're growing.
So say one thing, do something, and the actions are clearly only ever going to do one thing, which is increase the rate of infection, lead us back towards a lockdown. But they clearly don't want a lockdown. So why would you do? I don't know. It's like they can't have both, but they're trying to desperately have some sort of best of both worlds.
What if, okay, Mike, what if this is of course just speculation. I don't know for certain, but let me just for argument's sake, let me give you an idea of what the agenda is for each powerful member of the government and why it might be a bit conflicted because of that.
In your opinion?
Again, this is speculation. I think it's based on reasonable logic, but, you know, other people can disagree. So my personal speculation, Boris Johnson's number one thing is to be as popular as he can while doing as little work as he can. So he doesn't really have any skin in the game, although he has suffered from coronavirus. So I think that's led to him being slightly more empathetic than he otherwise would have been. But I think Boris Johnson's a bit of a red herring, because I don't think he's not a mastermind. He's very lazy. He's a compulsive liar. I don't think he is the driving force behind anything. And then if you look at Dominic Cummings, I think Dominic Cummings was very herd immunity. I think that was basically his brainchild. He was thinking that was the way to go. And he was eventually, I think, only overridden by the chief medical people around the government who were like screaming that you can't do this. And obviously the imminent collapse of the NHS. Okay, then you've got Michael Gove, who is effectively Rupert Murdoch's sock puppet. Now, Michael Gove, I think Michael Gove is kind of distanced from it. I think he's focusing on the long-term prize of Brexit and looking at potentially, I don't know if you agree with this, but I personally think there's a lot of moving and shaking going on to instill Michael Gove as Prime Minister.
Really?
I think Murdoch wants Gove to be Prime Minister when Johnson flounces out of office in, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months time, when Brexit has gone to shit, the country's in ruins. Murdoch, Gove is very close to Murdoch. I think Murdoch sees him as his personal minister. If he could make him leader of the country, that would be Murdoch's wet dream, because Gove would then completely reimagine how we deal with the world. You know, all the time with Murdoch whispering in his ear. In terms of Matt Hancock, the health minister, I think, again, he's torn between his head's rammed up Johnson's shit pipe because he's desperately trying to keep his job. And then he's got this shrinking part of himself that actually does care about the public and doesn't want them to all get sick. But then he also has this like really irritable little child in him where he doesn't like being questioned. So he's like, oh, too many questions. You've already asked me that, and I said I don't know, or I gave you a figure that I just pulled out of my ass. So, yeah, there's that. Then you've got the Tory backbenchers, who I think are obsessed. To be honest, I think they've bought into this conspiracy theory rubbish about coronavirus doesn't affect me, so why do we have any restrictions at all? They don't really agree with mask wearing. They definitely don't think there should be continual lockdowns. They think we should just, again, as Johnson said in the first place, take it on the chin, which shouldn't surprise you because their whole ideology is it will never happen to me. So you've got them. And then, of course, you have the Conservative Party donors who are absolutely no more restrictions, open the economy back up completely, particularly, as we've discussed before, the commercial landlords. Hence why, less than 2 weeks ago, we had the government basically giving veiled threats to get people to go back in the office.
Yeah.
So to me, that's like some of the contrasting factions that are led to this ridiculous, because if you look at it that way, that it makes sense why everything's so confused, because the leader of the country or the leader of the party at the moment has no real strength of his own. He just likes to be in charge. I know you think I'm being a bit harsh, but give me an example of where Johnson's ever like taken anything by the scruff of the neck and said, this is what we're doing, and stuck to it. He just gets pulled wherever his like close friends or associates tell him to.
It feels that way. We don't know the ins and outs, but
no, like I say, there are potentially things that can be challenged there, but I'm just saying that with the evidence we have, that seems to be the most likely scenario to what's happening at the moment.
That's what Boris likes, though, isn't it? This ideal for him is that the whole, although he is ultimately the person who would be held responsible, the figurehead, if you like. Kind of, he likes to play the bumbling buffoon, doesn't he? And we've discussed why before.
Mm-hmm.
Because he dissolves accountability that way.
Yeah.
So if it feels like he's just being pulled around by other people, it's probably what he wants. Probably how he wants it to look, to a degree. Because then, if it all goes fucking wrong, he can go, well, yeah, but they said. And if it works out, well, he was a prime minister that fucking did something great. So
I don't know, I find it interesting, maybe because there's like a mythology built up around him. You know, before he became prime minister, there was this big mythology around Johnson that, you know, he was this amazing politician because even though he was so privileged and everything, he connected with everyone. Everyone liked him. Everyone thought he was a laugh. Everyone thought, yeah, well, he tells it like it is. And then he kind of he gets into power, and I think what does it for me is that I always thought that there must be some smart cunning behind it, you know, like, because obviously there's a bit of cunning because we've discussed before, you know, that he prepares his sloppy notes like way in advance and he pretends to scribble them down on the day and look as if he's doing these great speeches on the hoof, whereas in fact he's recycling stuff he's written like years before. So there is this cunning that he's clearly fabricating part of this persona that he's cultivated. But I guess I find it hard to believe that with that cunning, that level of cunning, he doesn't understand where things are going right now, because where things are going right now is, yeah, he'll get a big pat on the back from all the disaster capitalist mates he's got who are going to coin it in with no deal Brexit. But the rest of the country will hate him. And then what will happen then? The Conservative Party will throw him out of office, blame everything on him. So he won't just be blamed at the time. People will see him in the street in future years and be shouting abuse at him. Now, I know you might say, oh, you know, all ex-prime ministers have to deal with that, but the state that he's going to leave the country in, I mean, is that what I mean is, I guess it's not the unpopularity thing with the public as much as it is the fact that he's clearly going to be used and kicked to the curb by the Conservative Party, that he doesn't see that coming. Do you know what I mean? Because he's always gone through his whole life using other people to like hitch himself up the ladder, and he doesn't see that like he's only at the top of the ladder while the party sees him as something that's not a liability. And the second that he's not that untouchable jester, they'll just kick the ladder away and he'll be fucking flat on his face.
it's quite a cynical way of looking at it.
Well, look at the history of the Conservative Party. That's how they treat their leaders. They kick them out of office the second that they lose. They feel like they're an electoral liability. They're absolutely ruthless at it. And not only do
they're not the only party that does that, are they?
Well, they're not at all, no. But they tend to do it far more cynically, because they tend to be the only party that does it when they know they're about to lose an election. So they do a one last heave, let's change the prime minister, and blame everything on the prime minister that just left to try and wash the party clean, kind of thing.
Kind of makes sense though.
Oh, no, it's a winning strategy. There's no arguing with it as a winning strategy. It's incredibly cynical, but it obviously is a winning strategy. And that's, to me, that's exactly what's going to happen to Johnson. It just baffles me that he doesn't seem to be resisting it. He's like walking straight into it with his eyes closed. Like, ruin the country, you'll be a pariah, everyone will hate you, not just now, but years' time. And then the party will just go, oh, well, you know, we thought Johnson would be a good prime minister, but he's messed everything up. So we're going to, you know, we'll have to get a new figurehead and we'll turn this country around. And then, of course, the country won't be turned around. And whenever it's brought up again, it will all be, oh, well, you know, this is where Johnson led us. You know, it'll all be attached to him rather than the party. But I don't know, I just thought he was smarter than that he would maybe see that coming and kind of take it a little bit more seriously, you know, the business of running the country.
I don't think that's fair.
Really?
I don't think you can say he doesn't take it seriously. I mean, we discussed it's just because he outwardly enjoys the perception of the bumbling buffoon. It's not actually who he is.
No, though I'd argue that, you know, whoever it is underneath, there's not a mastermind slick operator under there. Yeah, he might not be as ridiculously clownish as he appears, but did you see that story today, by the way, that they in fact I think it might have been debunked, but there was a story that apparently he went to a secret holiday in Perugia like this weekend.
Oh, no, didn't see that.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. By the way, for anyone who is interested in secret things about Boris Johnson, try and find a Reddit thread that's happening at the minute, because there's strong rumours that there is a scandal involving Boris Johnson, very recent, that he is paid for a super injunction to prevent being published. Now, obviously, super injunctions can like crack down on anyone, even people like me and you. So I can't actually sort of explain it on YouTube, so to speak. But if you look at some of the Reddit threads, there's a tasty bit of a story about Johnson that they reckon he's paying for a super injunction to prevent coming out. So that might be worth looking into. Anyway, I noticed today, Mike, that he got the two chief medical officers. What is it, Whitty and Valance? He got them to do like a press conference.
Oh yeah, that he wasn't. Yeah, you really think maybe he should do it himself?
But don't you think that spoke? Did you think that speaks volumes? Like a cynic could suggest that the reason that happened is because nobody trusts Johnson anymore.
But that's what we just discussed. Like the message doesn't come directly from him.
Right.
In people's perception, is that he's not accountable for that message.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. I didn't really consider that, but yeah, you could well be right. In fact, that's a really interesting point you make there, Mike, because I've noticed that there seems to be an absolute cavalcade of ministers that keep appearing, usually contradicting each other, and maybe that's deliberate. So, you get Priti Patel, as ridiculous as she is. Priti Patel goes on the air saying that you should snitch on your neighbours if you see them in groups of more than 6. And then Boris Johnson goes on the air to say, no, I'm not going to be. I don't think you should snitch on neighbours unless there's some kind of animal house party going on. And then, you speak to Grant Shapps and he says something different. And it's like every day there's a new government minister, Hancock, Shapps, Patel. Oh, there's Johnson. He's finally popped his head up. And they all seem to say slightly different things. And maybe you're onto something. Maybe that's deliberate. It looks incompetent. It looks like, well, the government doesn't know what the left hand doesn't know what the fucking right hand's doing. When in fact, they're utilizing, that old Russian tactic. Keep everyone confused all the time so they don't know who's accountable for what. Like you say, the public end up not knowing who to blame, because if it was just Johnson appearing on TV every day talking to the public, immediately he's the lightning rod, isn't he? Everyone says, well, Johnson said this. Oh, he's fucking contradicting himself. But if he gets a different minister to appear on different days, suddenly it's like, so who decided this? Whose message should I trust? So I think you're onto something, Mike. I think that's very good. That's probably
He grows.
He grows. I noticed as well that Matt Hancock was caught lying again about testing figures. So this is a big thing at the moment, because I don't know if you remember, Mike, if we cast our minds back to those halcyon days of the first lockdown, when we were in the midst of that, the medical experts and eventually government officials basically said that the roadmap out of this is we need a functioning test and trace system. And once we have that up and running, we can start opening the economy up and we can gradually all go back to normal. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, what happened is that hundreds of millions of pounds were handed over to companies who completely failed, particularly Serco, who were given a hell of a lot of money to come up with a test and trace app and failed. Incredible amount of money wasted. And here we are on the brink of a second lockdown basically because we don't have a functioning test and trace system. And nobody seems to like go back and say, hang on, I thought it was the government's pledge to get that up and running, and that was the reason we were reopening the economy. And here we are again, and Matt Hancock is lying on television because, you know, what was it? They promised 100,000 tests a day. And I think the current estimate for different people, because this is the thing, they say this is different people being tested. I believe the current measurement is somewhere around the 70,000 marks, just over 70,000 people tested a day. And yet Matt Hancock appears on TV claiming over 200,000 tests were done. And he gets called up on it by all kinds of people saying, where have you got these figures? Well, he wasn't on TV, obviously, because for some reason they never seem to ask those questions. But, you know, people like bloody Piers Morgan and stuff were going, Matt Hancock, where are you getting these figures from? You know, the figures we have, the actual figures that we can trace, if you get my my pun, 70-odd thousand. These are the people being tested daily. And as you know, you've seen in the newspapers, you've seen on TV, how many people are being asked to drive 100 miles to get a coronavirus test? Or that they say they want a test and they can't get it. Or they've got a test, 5 days later they haven't got a result. And yet, you know, Priti Patel goes on TV and says, there's no problem at all. Everyone who wants a test can get one. And Matt Hancock goes on and says, oh, we've got over 200,000 tests done a day, so we're nearly there. And people just look at each other and go, is there any such thing as objective truth anymore?
I guess not. But yeah, I mean the whole it's just one big fuck up, isn't it? And I do feel there's a part of me still, regardless of whatever laughable fucking bullshit come out with, there is still a part of me that goes, do you know what? It's pretty unprecedented. Cut them some slack. But, I mean, can only watch for so long, can't it? And does it excuse like lying? Probably not. Probably not. You know, we all bend the truth from time to time, but it's just insulting. It's just insulting. And you know, and again, it's unprecedented. So sometimes wrong decisions might get made, but some of them just look like just a basic level of competence to get you through, and it doesn't seem to be there sometimes.
Yeah.
But then it's unprecedented. No, you know, so maybe it makes me want to cut. Like I still do. I still want to cut them all some slack, because fuck me, I wouldn't want to do it. But it's like we discussed before. If you or I can sit there and go, huh? Surely they can.
You would have thought so.
You know, so they really reached a point where actually even the most patient of people aren't going to have any patience left.
No.
You know, there's only so long you can bullshit people for. There's only so long you can piss on people and tell them it's raining. One of my favourite phrases. Happens to me a lot.
People piss on you all the time.
Yeah. Well, usually I ask.
Yeah.
Usually I ask for that. But yeah. But do you know what I mean? Though it's true. Like even the most patient of people,
yeah,
at some point they've just got to go, do you know what? Fuck this.
I think. Yeah. I think obviously the bootlickers will stay with them no matter what. But what you're talking about, yeah, is the people that consider themselves to be moderate, tolerant. They understand that things go wrong, and even they are starting to get a little bit tired of being patronised and lied to. And let me throw this at you as well, Mike.
Hit me.
We've said these people are puffins for a long time, but you know what? I'm even starting to have sympathy with the puffins. I'm talking about the anti-maskers, particularly. Now, I still don't agree with them, and I still think, for fuck's sake, are you sure this isn't just about you being a selfish twat? But it gets harder and harder not to sympathise with them, because you think the government is taking the piss with its messaging. It's like, I hear people who are opposed to wearing masks. Sorry, I read on social media, people who are opposed to wearing masks, and they say things that make a lot of sense. They're like, why the fuck am I wearing a mask in a shop when I can get half cut in a pub and breathe on everyone? Why can't I go and visit my daughter and yet I can see a bunch of pissheads leering all over the place?
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I was going to
say some of it, right, is actually, I get it. I do get it, but actually, I think, why have I got to do something here and not something here and whatever else? I don't think anyone is saying that there's any one thing you can do, but other than lock yourself away in a house for 2 weeks if everyone does it. Nobody's saying like wear a mask and coronavirus is finished. It's about limiting, like taking precautions.
Yeah.
So you wear shin pads at football. It doesn't stop you breaking your leg.
Yeah, as I can testify.
Yeah, you wear a box at cricket. You get it in the nads, it still hurts.
Very good, Mike.
It's
Okay, no, hang on. I completely agree with you, Mike. Point well made. The mask opposition was the wrong thing to say. Sorry, because again, the mask thing is really unjustifiable. It does tend to come back to, I don't want to do that. Why do I have to do that? So, not the anti-mask. Let's talk about the not agreeing with the rule of six, because I think that is a legitimate objection. So they say, why can't why can't me and my wife meet up with our children and our grandchildren? There are 7 of us. And yet, if I have a shotgun with me and the police come by and ask me what we're doing, go, we're on our way to grouse shooting.
Don't even get me fucking started on that.
Yeah. But that is a completely understandable position to take. It makes no
100%.
sense. It's completely based on corruption and cronyism.
Yeah, the rule of 6, this stuff, and then it's like, you must get behind it, otherwise we'll end up in another lockdown. Yeah, I think you'll find actually getting, like, following that is what's going to lead us to a fucking lockdown. I don't get it. The whole go out, I said before, go out, you can go to a pub or you do the eat out to help out thing, no more than 2 households. Doesn't matter how many of you there are. I think it was 8, wasn't it? Or something like that. 8, but no more than 2 households. At least that made sense. It was kind of sensible precautions to limit things. But just saying, we're cutting it to 6. But many households you like, don't get it. It doesn't make sense.
It's not logical.
It doesn't make sense. It's stupid. And I mean, fuck me. These are rules, except now you will know more about this than I will. Maybe you can clear this up for me.
Okay.
A little bit. So those are the rules. The rules are the rules. Fucking follow them. But unless you're going out to shoot some grouse, was there another exception? Or was it wasn't strictly grouse?
No, it wasn't. In fact, there are quite a few exceptions. Things like organised sport. Organised sport was an exemption. Now, I found that baffling because what constitutes organised sport? Is organised sport, does that mean something that's sanctioned by a league or a body, or is it just something that you book every week to do? Because, you know, we played five-a-side. The reason being that's booked every week and that happens every week. It's organised sport. But is it organised? I don't know. Is it organised in the spirit of the... But then the problem with this again, Mike, is these, and again, even their own party has criticised it. A lot of these new restrictions, I think the rule of six, I think I'm right in saying the rule of six, went into law 20 minutes before it was supposed to be administered. So police had 20 minutes notice of the wording of the law that they were supposed to be enforcing. And that's when I come to the next point, right? So all these new laws and rules and regulations and things that Dominic Cummings has thought of and whatever, these powers, because we're not used to these, because they're introduced potentially the day before they come into effect. Now, that's not usual. The reason that happens is because if we remember back at when this started, Johnson's government had Parliament give them special powers. So they have special powers to basically rule by decree, basically, you know, throw down orders like a king. Whereas
if
normally,
it concerns coronavirus,
yes, well, if they can kind of justify it through coronavirus. Now, that's fine in certain circumstances, but you have to remember there's a consequence of Parliament not being able to scrutinise these things and raise objections and you know, raise points that the government might not have considered very much. Now, I would argue that, yeah, some of these are irritating and some of these rules are completely contradictory. But to me, the biggest scandal is the hundreds of millions of pounds of taxpayer money that's been paid in contracts. And by the way, most of them untendered. So, I mean, you know what I mean by tender, right? Where you put out a public contract. I mean, there's an argument, should they even be put out to contract? Can't they just be done in-house? But, you know, this government's obsessed with private companies. But if you tender, what you do is you have a government function, like, say, the test and trace thing. Now, what you're legally supposed to do is put it out to tender, i.e. you say, we've got this contract, who can fulfill it and how much are you going to bid for it? And you get at least, I think it's at least three. Well, I mean, you know, at my job, we tend to get at least, you must, absolute minimum of two, but three is ideal. Three competing companies, so you can judge them by value for money. And then you choose the contract based on that. And the reason that, you know, that should also apply to the public sector is this is our money. This is our money they're using. So they need to be very careful with it and make sure they get maximum value for money. Which doesn't always mean the cheapest. It means the one that you think are most likely to deliver what the contract is about for a reasonable price. And what's been happening with these Henry VIII powers that they've been granted by Parliament is they've effectively used it as an excuse to hand untendered contracts out to companies like Serco, Deloitte, all of these kind of friends of Conservative Party, Dominic Cummings. I mean, you know, you can easily research these, but hundreds of millions of pounds of taxpayer money, and we still don't have a successful test and trace system, for instance. And the reason I raised that, the emergency powers thing, is because the sunset clause, I believe, is approaching rapidly. So I think it might be in the next couple of weeks. The Act will end unless Parliament approves it continuing. Now, you know, there's a chance that Parliament could approve it continuing because there's a Conservative majority. And as we've discussed, they can see the coming crisis with no-deal Brexit. And it would be a very convenient excuse to allow the government to suddenly declare you know, certain very restrictive laws based on social gatherings and stuff around January, February time, when there might be very unhappy people who can't get food or medicine. But aside from that cynicism, there could be a chance for Parliament to finally take back control of reviewing laws, so they can't just decide something one day, put it into law the next day, and then we're all like, what the hell does this law mean? I mean, have you heard that they're apparently they've instituted a new fine of £10,000 if you leave your home when you're expected to self-isolate. Now, again, Mike, we look at that as people who know nothing really about the law. I mean, neither me or you, we're not legally trained. We've never worked in the police force, but we have a basic functioning brain between us. So we look at that, and you say to me, £10,000 fine for leaving your house if you're self-quarantining. How are you going to enforce that? Legitimately, how do you even begin to enforce that? So do you give
not? And even if there was a case put forward and there was, you know, you could potentially prove it, have they got the time?
Well, considering there's a backlog of how many thousands of hours of jury trials that have been postponed because of this crisis, you know, people need to
just
be
on that.
Yeah.
Just on that. I've never been called up for jury duty. I feel sorry, and I'll apologise now to anyone.
You on your jury?
No, to the other jurors. I apologise. We will be there for a long fucking time.
Yes.
Because I will.
Half the country will be on juries.
I will think and analyse and everything, and we're going to say everything. Wait. And I'm going to make you all do it as well. You're going to fucking hate me, and I'm going to love it.
Mike, you've heard it here first. Why don't we have late night jury? Do it via Late Night Large. Why don't we just debate cases on YouTube? What could go wrong over Zoom?
I mean, this could work. Outline it for me.
Well, I guess what would happen is we'd have a Zoom conference call, and then you'd have the prosecution, the defence, the judge right in the top.
Yeah, me, Judge Large.
Yeah, I think we might have to have someone with some kind of level of integrity, and then me and you are effectively the jury. So we hear what they have to say. They make their closing statements. The judge says, right, you two, I want a verdict in an hour's time. We close their screens, and then we just like have it out with each other. Oh, I thought he was a lying bastard. No, I reckon he's telling the truth. You know, back and forth, picking over.
We have to get the other one to agree. How would it work with just the two of us?
Because it'd have to be unanimous.
So one of us would have to win the other one over.
Yeah.
What if we both just agreed?
It does happen.
It'd be easy, wouldn't it?
It does happen now and again.
Yeah. What if we just thought, if you weren't, nah, he's full of shit, it's a fucking liar, and I went, yeah, he is. Guilty? Yeah, guilty.
Oh, 55 minutes left. Let's go get some lunch.
Yeah. I mean, because there's only two of us, I would say, given that we're both, you know, fairly rational people, case dependent, obviously, I'd say we would probably end up agreeing on, I would say, over half.
Yeah, I think so.
So, and I mean the ones that we don't agree on, I mean, see, I think it's a great idea. I love it, right? But the ones we agree on, I'm not sure there's much we can do. We can go on about why we agree. That would be fairly easy, I suppose. But can you imagine trying to win the other one over?
Yeah.
You would never allow me to win you over because even if you thought I was right, because you're too bloody stubborn, and do you know what?
Stubborn.
Probably do the same. So I don't know. That could be an interesting one. We could try it. I'll be up for that. Let's try it.
Yeah, why not?
do it.
Like people in Late Night Large world, please put our names forward. We're going to help the criminal justice backlog by being the jury, the Zoom jury, in however many cases you need. And when we've come to our conclusion, we speak to the judge via Zoom again, and whoever's been won over will have to deliver the verdict. There might be like he'll ask the verdict, and you go, "Okay, judge, I'd just like to preface this with Mike's a twat, but he was right." And then we'll go from there.
Oh, we could actually just do this. As in, this could actually be a thing, even without the whole,
COVID situation.
Yeah, we could do. You've seen like fucking like Judge Rinder and all that shit on TV. We could do our own.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we need to be judge and jury. We need to be judge and jury, don't we? To be honest, two opposing sides. If they want their own counsel or they can do it themselves, fine. We'll listen to them whilst they're pleading. Saying their bit. We'll act as judge, and then once they've pled their cases, we act as jury, hash it out.
I like it.
I reckon let's fucking do it. Let's do it. So, have you got some sort of? But I'll say it's final. Yeah, let's just get that fucking show. Don't come on our show, right? Tell us that you want us to use our I don't know,
massive influence.
Yeah, well, I was going to say our superior intellect to resolve your issues, but that's slightly insulting, and also probably not that true. But we could, we tell you that's it. That's it. So you got a little dispute, have you? Maybe it's a little. Do we get involved in lovers' tiffs? Do we do that? Do we get involved in domestics?
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Fucking hell. Okay, yeah. All right. Got a little domestic dispute. Like, wife says this, husband says this. Who's right? Who's wrong? We'll fucking tell you. We'll tell you. But when we do, you stick to it. I think we could do this. Let's give it a bash. So, I mean, I think we've rambled on for long enough. Yeah. But what I would say is, if you are wonderful listeners, have some sort of dispute. Now, bear in mind, we won't have any legal authority, but civil disputes, right and wrong. We can use our own kind of moral compasses to kind of guide you towards our objective opinions. Obviously, we might not know you, or certainly have one particular preference on who might be right and wrong. But we can give you our opinions. Do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So, you having a dispute with a wife, with your mate, with your landlord, boss? Maybe too far.
I like that. I find the tenant 100% of the time.
Yeah, well, you would, yeah. I'd have to argue against you whether I thought or not, just to fucking keep it a little bit on a level.
Yeah. So we basically we be like King Solomon, the wisdom of Solomon.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I see nothing wrong with that.
Right. Okay. Well, on that.
So let's do it.
Yeah.
Let us know, guys.
Invite your conflicts. Come on, let us know, and we might invite you on the show, and we'll judge your life accordingly, and give you the verdict you'll have to live by from that moment on.
we will need both sides. We can't just have. Yeah, that's not fair.
Yeah, you need both hands chattering.
Yeah, we need both. Yeah, bit of this, bit of that, but that's fine. Let's do it. Let's fucking do it. It can be fun. Fuck it.
I think it could be, yeah. No, I'm up for it.
Let's do it.
Let us know, people. In the meantime, yeah, that's probably about all the time we've got. So make sure you subscribe, share, etc. And like, of course, and comment, whatever it is. And the last thing I'll say is stay alert, people, because the alert level has apparently been raised from 3 to 4. So you have to be even more alert until next week. And until next week, we will see you.